Hi there, this is MainstreetRob, and I'm on busy Highway 31 in Williamsburg. Kind of a quiet place, as you can see, lots of residences. And the amazing thing about this quiet place is it has an extraordinary history. And we're going to explore that today here in Williamsburg. Just take a look down this road here. More residential communities. My sister used to live here a number of years ago. I can remember coming down to visit her. And just beyond me here was a butcher shop. It was an amazing butcher shop because we would get some bacon there and take it back home for a Sunday bacon and eggs. The smell of that bacon, I can still smell it today. What a wonderful place. Unfortunately, no longer here. There was also a general store. There was a little store with some knicky-knackies. And a little bit behind me now, down that particular road that you can see, was a store where they actually sold golf carts. I was pretty amazed with that, but there it was. And if you look at Williamsburg today, lots of residences, not too much business activity. It's hard to believe that this particular community has an extraordinary history. Extraordinary. We're going to explore that today on MainstreetRob Village Walks. Stay with me. We're going to have an interesting time today. Well, here we are at one of my favorite places in all of Eastern Ontario. This is Sherry's, and we're going to go in there before we go home and get some of their baked goods. But this is an amazing place, and people are, as you can see, getting gasoline. There's a few pickup trucks. Here's somebody here probably having a snack. This is the place to get it. And I just noticed around the back here, and I'm just going to take a peek. There's some folks that have come up in their skidoos, and they've come here for snacks. What else would you come for? But I'm just going to walk a little bit along here, because often you'll see the truckers sitting right here where this truck is, looking out over this area behind me, and maybe what you can see beyond those snowbanks are some tombstones. And those folks that sit there and have their goodies from Sherry's may not realize that that cemetery that sits over there, that cemetery is one of the oldest cemeteries in all of Eastern Ontario. And there are some families there that were one of the first of the United Empire Loyalists to gain land. And I don't know whether you can see on this tombstone in front of me here, it says Castleman. That name Castleman you'll find throughout Eastern Ontario. There are also the Whitakers, and I don't see them here, but there's one over there actually, and the Marsalis. These folks were originally German stock, but the interesting story is that they emigrated as Germans to the 13 colonies with the help of the British, probably in about the 1750s. Those folks were very grateful to the British for having looked after them and provided them a place to stay. And during the American Revolutionary War, around 1786, these folks, at least German heritage, sided with the British to fight against the American Revolutionary forces. And they emigrated to Canada. As such, they were rewarded by the British and given land. And much of that land is where we are right now. Stretches for many, many miles in either directions. But those names that we saw on the tombstones are the earliest settlers. This cemetery was established in 1822. It's one of the oldest in all of Eastern Ontario. And if you were down there at Sherry's in a big truck, you wouldn't even think about it. But unfortunately, the tombstones are in disrepair. And if you were here when the snow isn't around, you'd really notice it. It's a sad story. This land was sold to the Presbyterians and the Lutheran families in 1828, and they called it then the Union Cemetery. But it certainly has lots of history in this particular area. So we're just going to go for a little walk up here. Just wanted to give you some idea. Williamsburg is a very attractive little town even today, although you don't see too many new buildings. We're just gonna walk down the street here. You can have a chance to see what it's like. A few houses for sale. Farmland over here behind the houses. But we're going down this street here because there have been very many famous names in this area, because Williamsburg Township was one of the first townships in Upper Canada. It included the community of what we know today as Morrisburg, but also the village of Williamsburg. And there are many famous names that have been bantered about here. The former Premier of Ontario, Mr. Whitney, came from here. Of course, the Chryslers were very much around here. We had John Chrysler, and we had his son John Pliny Chrysler. Both of them lived in the Morrisburg area. We've had the Gallagher family that is very influential in this particular area, but very, very few of them would be as influential as Dr. Mahlon Locke. Dr. Locke was born not too far from here in Dixon's Corners in 1880. He was schooled locally and then went to university in Queen's University in Kingston. And he graduated in medicine. And in 1905, when he graduated, he took a job with Algoma Steel up in Sault Ste. Marie. And was there for about a year, and then decided to do some additional work in medical school in Scotland. And when he was there, he had a certain amount of fame because he was curing Edinburgh police of flat-footedness. Not curing them, certainly helping them out. Came back to Canada, established his practice here in Williamsburg, and for 34 years he was the resident doctor. He performed coroner's duties, but he also delivered babies. Was best man, I think, on a few occasions. and he lived in this house right here. And as you can see, the province has sought fit to commemorate his house. But what is it about this man that's really special? Well, the reality is, in 1925, a blacksmith came to him, and he couldn't work anymore. And it was a very serious thing for a blacksmith not being able to move. But Dr. Locke looked at him and said, "You have fallen arches." And he twisted his foot somewhat, gave him something that in modern times we would call orthotics. And the revelation was that the blacksmith went back to work. And suddenly, Dr. Locke was famous locally. Word spread and continued to spread as people would come. He would provide them with his technique and give them some advice on how to treat themselves with things like orthotics. And word continued to spread. Suddenly, people were coming from all over the place. In fact, at one point in the 1930s, Dr. Locke was attending to 1,000 people a day. The most incredible thing, people would line up to get to see him at a location where he lived. There they had a 30-foot square tent or canopy, and he would sit in the middle on a chair with wheels on it. People would be around in a circle, have their socks off, and he would go spend 5 to 10 seconds on each person, twist, give them some guidance about how to look after their posture. And many of them felt so much better. The people were coming here from everywhere. They were coming from all over the world. The word got around, and in 1932, the editor of Cosmopolitan magazine came here to see Dr. Locke and suddenly felt that he had been healed of his arthritis, at least in his interpretation, published it in the magazine, and suddenly people were coming from everywhere. And this particular quiet community was suddenly full of people everywhere. Hotels sprung up, restaurants, there were cars, trucks, wagons. People were coming on wheelchairs. They were being brought in with stretchers. You got to remember, this was the dirty 30s, the Depression years. People were desperate to find solutions for medical problems. And what Dr. Locke did was he charged everyone $1 for a treatment. Just to let you know, $1 in 1932, for example, is about $20 today. Certainly much less than you would pay if you were going to a chiropractor or to any kind of medical practitioner to help you with these things. And the hotels, of course, thought this was a great idea with all these people here to charge more than $1 a night. But Dr. Locke said, absolutely not. And that was the fee that people paid. Sometimes they would be here for weeks, coming every day, standing in line. Picture those thousands of people. Certainly was something that everyone in this community was having a difficult time adjusting to, because Williamsburg had gone from this quiet locale to one of the busiest places around. And the trains emptied in Morrisburg, and people had to get their way up here, which is about seven miles or so. And some of the locals then were in the business of taxiing people, and did quite well as a result. So here I am at Sherry's again, and I just want to show you something down the street here. And there it is. That is an example of what it was like here in Williamsburg during the time of Dr. Locke. The most incredible thing, you can see all the people lined up, and there he is in the center with his wheeled chair, people going around from the circle around. On one side you have poor people in wheelchairs. Over here you have someone with a chauffeur-driven limousine. You had people from all walks of life. Most amazing situation. And it went on for years and years and years. Dr. Locke died in 1942 of pneumonia. He was only 62 years old. But you can imagine him in the center of all this activity, exposed as he is. He died of pneumonia. And he was buried in his own area of Matilda, not far from here, down near Dixon's Corners, where he was born. The people of Williamsburg respect the fact that Dr. Locke was an impressive doctor, but many people felt he was a quack. And why is that? Well, certainly he was using techniques that many people in those days would never think of. Modern chiropractic never existed at that time. And certainly with all the people he had, there was a bit of showmanship that went on, and the medical profession were not particularly keen to see this happen. He was using techniques that they were unfamiliar with. So was he a charlatan? Was he a quack? Was he a fake? Well, quacks often want to gouge. They want to take people's money, and certainly he didn't want to do that. He was using traditional anatomical techniques, and he never really told people that he would cure them. He just told them how to improve. There are a lot of people that don't give much credit to Dr. Locke. But certainly, in newspaper accounts, he is well respected. And I think it's quite a interesting story for all of Williamsburg, that it could go from this quiet village to something so amazingly unique. Well, this is MainstreetRob, and I'm here at the SDG Library in Williamsburg. It's a quiet street here, recreation area nearby. But I can't help but think, as we conclude today on Williamsburg, that the most unlikely places can have the most extraordinary things happen to them. Certainly, the foundation, really, of Upper Canada United Empire Loyalist settlement, the first in this particular area. Lots of things happen out of Williamsburg Township. Dr. Locke, world renowned, hardly remembered, except perhaps in Williamsburg. It makes me think, though, that what we really have to do is make sure that not only we remember these things locally, but we remember them throughout Ontario, throughout Eastern Ontario. These villages are important, and there's lots of important history that we don't want to forget. This is MainstreetRob. I'm gonna say bye for now on my village walk. I hope you'll subscribe. Doesn't take very long to do it, and you'll be the first to find out where the next village walk or village life episode might be. Looking forward to seeing you on my next village walk.